everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Story Essence. I'm Maya, and I am so excited for today's episode.
And I'm Ryan. And Maya, I think this might be one of our most important episodes yet. We're diving into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, the book that completely changed how millions of people think about money.
Oh my goodness, yes! This book has sold over 40 million copies worldwide and has been translated into dozens of languages. But here's what blew my mind when I first read it. It's not really about money at all. It's about mindset.
Exactly. And today we're starting with part 1, where Kiyosaki tells this incredible story about growing up in Hawaii in the 1950s with two father figures who had completely opposite views about money and success.
So picture this, everyone. Young Robert Kiyosaki is growing up in Paradise, Hawaii, in the 1950s. And he's got two incredibly important men in his life who are basically going to shape his entire understanding of wealth and success.
First, there's his real dad, his biological father. This man was brilliant, highly educated, had a PhD, worked for the government, and was completely respected in the community. He believed wholeheartedly in traditional education and job security. Robert calls him Poor Dad.
And then there's his best friend's dad. This is where it gets really interesting. This man was a businessman and investor. He had very little formal education compared to Robert's real father, but he had this extraordinary, almost magical understanding of how money actually works. Robert calls him Rich Dad.
Now, here's what's fascinating. Both of these men were intelligent. Both genuinely cared about Robert, and both wanted him to succeed in life. But Maya, their advice about money was completely, totally opposite.
Oh, wow, this is where it gets really good. So let's break down these contrasting mindsets. Poor Dad's philosophy was all about safety and traditional success. He would say things like, go to school, get good grades, and find a secure job.
Right. And they also believed the love of money is the root of all evil. He would tell Robert, study hard so you can work for a good company, and don't take risks, play it safe.
Now, contrast that with Rich Dad's philosophy. And this is where my mind was completely blown the first time I heard this. Rich Dad would say, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Wait, what? That's the complete opposite.
Exactly. And Rich Dad would tell Robert, study hard not just to work for money, but to learn how money works, so money can work for you. Instead of work for a good company, he'd say, learn to own the company.
And instead of play it safe, Rich Dad encouraged, take calculated risks. Opportunities are everywhere. Maya, do you see the pattern here?
Oh, absolutely. One father encouraged Robert to climb the corporate ladder, while the other taught him to own the ladder. That's such a powerful way to put it, Ryan.
Now, this is where Robert had this incredible realization that would change everything. He started to understand that schools teach us how to be employees, how to follow instructions, pass exams, fit into a system. But they almost never teach the most important subject of all.
Money! They don't teach us about money. And this is where we get to the central idea of the entire book, financial literacy. This concept is going to blow your mind if you've never heard it explained this way.
So, what exactly is financial literacy? Well, it's the ability to understand three crucial things. First, the difference between assets and liabilities. Second, how money flows in and out of your life. And third, how to build wealth by accumulating assets.
Now, I have to pause here because this is so important. Most people think they understand what assets and liabilities are, but Rich Dad's definition is going to surprise you. We'll dive deep into that in part 2, but here's the key difference in thinking.
Poor Dad believed in working for money and relying on a steady paycheck. But Rich Dad believed in creating or buying assets, things that put money in your pocket automatically, like businesses, investments, or real estate that generates rental income.
And this brings us to one of the most powerful images from this entire book, the rat race. Ryan, when I first understood this concept, it was like someone turned on a light in a dark room.
Oh, tell me about it. So, Poor Dad's path goes like this. Study hard, get a high-paying job, then buy a house, buy a car, and keep paying bills. But here's the trap. This cycle never ends. Higher income often just leads to higher expenses, and debt becomes this invisible prison.
Yes, you're literally running in a wheel like a hamster, getting nowhere, but Rich Dad said something completely different. He said, don't get stuck in the rat race. Escape it by making money work for you.
So instead of just earning more money from a job, Rich Dad focused on building assets that would generate passive income, money that comes in whether you're working or not. Maya, what were some of the key lessons that really stood out to you from this introduction?
Oh, wow, there are so many. First, you don't need a high income to become rich. You need the right mindset and financial skills. I mean, think about it. There are people making six figures who are still living paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely. And here's another huge one. The poor and middle class work for money, but the rich make money work for them. It's literally the opposite approach to building wealth.
And this one really hit me hard. Schools prepare people to be good employees, not financially independent individuals. We spend years learning algebra and history, which are great, but no one teaches us how to read a financial statement or understand investments.
That's so true. And here's what I think is the most powerful lesson. Financial education is more powerful than job security. In today's world, job security is kind of an illusion anyway, right?
Exactly. And most importantly, wealth begins in your mindset. If you think like Poor Dad, you'll probably live paycheck to paycheck no matter how much you make. But if you think like Rich Dad, you'll start building systems and assets that provide real freedom.
You know what's amazing about this story? It's not about one dad being right and the other being wrong. Both men genuinely cared about Robert and wanted him to succeed. It's really about the choices we make and how we see money and opportunity.
That's such a great point, Ryan. And I think that's what makes this book so relatable. Most of us have been taught the Poor Dad philosophy our whole lives. It's what our parents learned, what schools teach, what society expects.
But Kiyosaki is showing us there's this whole other way of thinking that most people never even consider. And the crazy thing is, once you understand it, you can't unsee it.
Oh my goodness, yes! It's like putting on special glasses that let you see the financial world completely differently. Suddenly you start noticing assets and liabilities everywhere, thinking about passive income, questioning whether that expensive car is really worth it.
And that's exactly what we're going to explore in part 2. We're going to dive deep into Rich Dad's teachings about the difference between assets and liabilities. And trust me, his definition is going to surprise you.
Yes, we'll talk about why your house might not be the asset you think it is, how to identify real assets that put money in your pocket, and why the simple concept can literally change your entire financial future.
So everyone, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell because part 2 is where the real transformation begins. We're going to show you exactly how to start thinking like Rich Dad and begin building your own path to financial freedom.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Maya, and remember, it all starts with changing how you think about money. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.
And I'm Ryan. See you in part 2 where we'll unlock the secrets of assets and liabilities. This is going to be amazing.